for this. Bava Kama Amud Beis. We are learning that the Atzlocha of a Kala who's getting married tonight, a daughter of our friend Johnny Links, and the Atzlocha of the marriage of Bat Yechana Bas Rochel and their Chosen. I will be driving there, Mirz Hashem, around 9:30. I mean, 9:45. He told me is Mesamchim. So if you go there about 9:30, you're okay. I mean, there will be like a second kind of, the second coming, and then joking. Okay. And then Gufa. Before we continue, the Shiur also Linushmas of Imar Menachem Ben Akiva Rus Bas Shalom Sor Bas Moshe L'Refuas Esther from Shan Malka. Lebas Tomo, your wife, Esther Sor Bas Gidl. Shmuel Avraham Ben Yehudi. Sabas Nechama. Yidis Nesifka. Esther Shachol Israel. Zev. 5 evolve. Yeah. A few debts I owe you, and these are as follows. Before we continue, Kufidaldam and based on top of the page. Debt number 1, Ellen. Ellen asked me a question. We mentioned, and that actually we'll mention later on, a chamsan. Chamsan is the person who, the chamsan is the person who forces you to sell. And he's considered as one of the gazlonim. We said Ganev, Gazlan, and chamsan. And chamsan seems to be a person who's equal to them. And the question is, aren't you assumed to be miyash, to give up hope when the item was taken by the chamsan, although he paid you? Ellen asked the question that why we're saying it's yush, that I'm supposed to retrieve the item back from the chamsan unless I gave up hope and then I don't retrieve. Ellen asked a good question. We said in Bava Basra and also in Bava Kama, around Daf Samech, we said that a chams which means if the person was forced to sell an item, but he got the money, we say that at the end of the day, the sale is a good sale unless he protested before. But if, there was a forced sale, but he got the money, got good value, and he said, yes, I'm interested. At the end of the day, we said he wants the life and not the money. I mean, he wants his life. So we assume at the end of the day, it's a good sale. So what's going on over here? The Gemara asked the question, not here, but previously. And the Gemara answers, depends if the person said, I want, or if he didn't say, I want. If the person said, I agree, he verbally mouthed the words, I agree, I want the mechira, even though we know that there was some kind of pressure there, even strong pressure, we say it's a good sale. At the end of the day, he wanted it. But if he never said, I want it, he never mouthed the words, I want it, it was only forced and the transaction was done, and he was like, with his face was sealed, then in a chinami, we say that it's not a sale. And that's our story over here, and I like the question. Debt number 2. We spoke yesterday, and this is something more like in Ashkofa. Remember what we said, not yesterday was Shabbos. Last week we said that if a person doesn't come to Beis Din, how many days do we wait if a person is like a refusnik and it doesn't come to Beis Din even though he was summoned? Well, it seems to depend on the gender, because we said we're not talking about the whole long process. The shorter process is only Monday, Thursday, Monday, right? These are the times where Beis Din have the sitting. So if he didn't come after 3 times, then we wait the entire second Thursday, the 3rd session, and then if not, we put him in Chayr and Shanta. We start, pressing him the real way. However, there was a case with a woman, and the woman, we said only after 1 time. There was a story in Daf Kuf Yud Gimel with Rav Asi. After 1 day already, the woman, after not showing up to business in 1 day, the woman was ready to put in Shamta. Why? Because he said the woman doesn't work out of town. A man works out of town, and therefore we assume he has dealings to do there. He really didn't have time. He's not a rebel. A woman who's in town, then we assume she rebels. Why didn't she come to Beis Din? And after 1 time already, the woman is already being put in Shamta. Look in Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch does not differentiate between men and women. Shulchan Aruch, very new age. Shulchan Aruch says that depends on the person. If it's a person who works out of town, then what? Then 3 times, because he really has a reason why he didn't come. If it's a person who works in town or is home all day long, regardless of his gender or her gender, then really he should be summoned after 1 time he summoned and didn't come, he or she. Then, in other words, it's not a man-woman issue. It's an issue of, is the person a working person who works out of town, or is a at-home kind of person? That was interesting to see how Shulchan Aruch derives it from the Gemara in a different way. Okay, Gufa. We are now in Kuf Yud Daled Amud Beis. There's another debt I owe you, Ellen, but that's for later. Gufa. We are now focusing on one thing we said in the previous Amud. Rabbi Oimer. Rabbi says, Oimer ani, I say, Ganev ki gazlan. A Ganev is like a gazlan. What does that mean? We saw mechloikis about Yush. A Ganev, what's a Ganev? A person who sneaks into your house in the middle of the night. You have no idea who he is. It's very hard to find who he is. With the Israeli police, for sure, you can't find who he is. Yeah. And also, on the other hand, he's also a coward. He came in the middle of the night. What's a Gazlan? A Gazlan is a thug. A Gazlan is a bum. He meets you in the middle of the street, takes a gold watch with absolutely no remorse, is not scared of the police. Yeah. So on one hand, you know very well who he is. The entire neighborhood knows who he is. Yeah. But on the other hand, that Gazlan is a person you know who he is, so it's easy to sue him because you know who he is. But it's hard to sue him. Why? Because you're scared of him. So there was Machlokes Bava Kama and Rabbi Shimon. And as we discussed before, where regarding who do you say there's Yush? When do we assume that the victim has Yush? He gave up hope because he's not going to take him to court. By Ganev or by Gazlan? I'm repeating because it's very important before we continue. What did Chachamim say? Chachamim say, a Gazlan, I'm not scared of. The Gazlan, the Ganev, I don't know who is. I don't know who the Ganev is. How can I take to court thin air? I have no idea who the Ganev is. And therefore what? Therefore, Chachamim say, by Ganev, there's Yush. We assume automatically there's Yush, yeah, according to Ula. That's according to who? Bava Kama. What did Rabbi Shimon say? Rabbi Shimon says, no. When a Gazlan is the one that Meyash. A Gazlan is a big, scary thug. You know how his muscles look like? You don't look. You don't want to see. You know what kind of gun he has? He has 3 guns. So I'm scared to take him to Beis Din. And therefore, I'm Meyash right from the start, says Rabbi Shimon. That was Machlokes. Ganev is Meyash according to who? To Chachamim, because I don't know who he is. According to Rabbi Shimon, Gazlan Amiyash, the real scary guy, because he's scary, Machlokes Bava Kama and Rabbi Shimon. Came Rabbi, a third opinion, and he says Ganev and Gazlan are all the same. What do you mean all the same? Yeah, what do you mean all the same? Are you always Meyash or are you never Meyash? Yeah, what do you mean when you equal red to white? Are they both red or are they both white? Yeah, you equalize what's going on here. Gufa, now we can start the Shiur. Rabbi Oimer ani Ganev ki Gazlan. I say Ganev and Gazlan are the same. Ganev is like a Gazlan. Now that begs the question: Ki Gazlan de Rabbanon kaoma veloy kani? Does it mean like Rabbanon's Gazlan and the Ganev is not koine? Which means Rabbanon say that by a Gazlan you're not Meyash, and so too a Ganev you're not Meyash, you're the victim, and therefore neither Gazlan nor Ganev do not acquire the object because Yush was not yet there, and therefore does not yet belong to the criminal because Yush is koine. Let's assume, or maybe ki Gazlan de Rabbi Shimon kaoma vekani, or maybe Rebbe meant Gazlan of Rabbi Shimon. What is Gazlan de Rabbi Shimon? What's Gazlan de Rabbi Shimon? Gazlan Rabbi Shimon, I'm scared. No. And therefore I'm Meyash. And therefore both Ganev and Gazlan, I am Meyash, and therefore both are koine. When you tick the 2 boxes, it is a tick or an X. Are they both yes koine or both not koine? Rebbe equalized them, but we don't know which direction equalized them. Okay? That's a question regarding Rebbe. Rabbi Shimon and Rabbanon are clear. Rebbe says they're all the same, but what kind of all the same? Toshma, let's listen and hear our Mishnah, the very same Mishnah we just saw in the previous Amud. Not l'mochsin chamoiroi. We spoke in the Mishnah about 2 types of thieves. Moichsin, they are nice white-collar people, but they are gazlonim. Why? Because they use the law the wrong way. They abuse the law, and these are who? The moichsim, and they are gazlan. Why the gazlan? Because of open face, of course. He has a name tag. He works for Misrad has something, yeah, which he invented. And we also spoke about listim. Who's listim? Listim are, we assume, ganavim, regular thieves who come in the middle of the night. And what did we say? That in both cases there is yush. In both cases, if I got the donkey from them, I don't have to return it to the bailim because there was yush and they're koine, money. Who's the author of our Mishnah? Rabbanon kashe Gazlan. Who on earth is the one who said that both Ganev and Gazlan are koine? They acquired it biyush. Who's that? Rabbanon. Then Gazlan is difficult. Rabbanon never said by Gazlan I'm giving up and it's automatically his. A Gazlan, I know who he is. I'm going to take him to court and I'm not scared of that thug. Rabbi Shimon, if you want to tell me our Mishnah was authored by Rabbi Shimon, kashe Ganev, then a Ganev is difficult. Why is Ganev difficult? because Reb Shimon says from a Ganav, I'm not Meyash. I will look for the Ganav. He's a scared guy. He's a coward, and I'll find him. So how can the Mishnah say, that both Ganav and Gazlan, there's Yush and there's Kinyan? It doesn't work according to any, unless who's coming to our rescue? Oh, Rebbe, possibly. Super Rebbe is coming to the rescue. If you tell me that Rebbe, like Gazlan, meaning to say he equalized and compared Ganav to Reb Shimon's Gazlan, which is very, very simple. It means that both of them are Meyash, Vikani. Very good. You tick both boxes. Ganav, yes, Yush. Gazlan, yes, Yush. Homani, Rebbe. Very nice. Our Mishnah found an author, Mazel Tov. Our Mishnah is not an orphan anymore. Oh, Mazel Tov. Rebbe, Yishmachi Kani. That's why both cases, Ganav and Gazlan, there's a Kinyan. We follow Rebbe. He believes both Ganav and Gazlan are koine, and then life is good. But if you want to tell me that Rebbe compares Ganav to Gazlan of Rabbanon, which means that neither Ganav nor Gazlan, there's no Yush on the side of the victim and no Kinyan on the side of the criminal, Omani, then our Mishnah is even worse. Our Mishnah doesn't follow any of the three opinions. Loi Rebbe, for sure not Rebbe. Our Mishnah has both boxes ticked how? Yes, Yush. Yes, Yush. Yes, dear. Yes, Yush. In other words, yes, Ganav. Yes, Gazlan. There's always Yush. And Rebbe, according to this side, you're telling me what? The Rebbe never believes in Yush. Reb Shimon and Rabbanon, as we explained before, for sure not. Because each one has one, either Ganav or Gazlan, that is not koina. Then, if so, must be, by default, we prove here that must be when Rebbe said they're all the same, he meant they're all the same. Yes, Yush. Yes, Yush, yes by Ganav, and yes by Gazlan. That's perfectly fitting into our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said both Ganav and Gazlan, both the government guy with open face and with a law in his hands, by his side, and the Ganav who comes in the middle of the night, they're all the same. They're all the same garbage, excuse my language, and they both are Yush, and Meyash in both, and that's Rebbe. Very nice. Answers the Gemara, no, you can't prove it. It's a nice idea, but it's not 100% foolproof. Why? As we said in Amud Aleph, this Mishnah can and possibly may fit with Reb Shimon. How come? There's a third guy. He's a guy with a gun in his hand, but with a covered face. He's a coward with a gun. He's coward and scary. Says the Gemara earlier, in other places, he lives in a cave. He lives in a cave. He lives in a basement in some New York neighborhood. He raids people and quickly runs back. He's not scared of the police. He's scared of the police. He's scared of Beis Din. But I'm also scared of him because he does have a gun. He's not exactly a nice guy. No, a Gazlan is a guy who comes with the open face completely. He walks in the middle of the street in a small town and he takes people's stuff with absolute no remorse, open face. A listim mezuyan is a variation on the theme of Gazlan. Let's read inside. And the Gemara asks a question, by the way. Hey, Beis Ayin, what are we talking about over here? Belistim mezuyan, it's an armed robber. The Rabbi Shimoni, it is Rabbi Shimon, which means Rabbi Shimon says, who's the only one which I will not take to, which I do take to Beis Din? The one who's the very scared guy, the coward, the scaredy cat who comes in the middle of the night. But both Gazlan, with the open-faced Gazlan and a covered-faced Gazlan, both of them, I am scared of them, and I will not take them to Beis Din. And therefore what? And therefore, there's Yush in both cases. And that's what the Mishnah spoke about. And the Mishnah did not speak, according to Reb Shimon, about the Ganav who comes in the middle of the night. And Chanami, that kind of Ganav, there's no Yush. I'll find him. I'll hire private detectives. I don't need the police. I'll find him, and I'm not scared of him. Frag the Gemara, which I think is your question, Alan. If so, Shlomo, can you? Thank you. Okay, answers. 1 second, please. Yochanu Gazlan. If so, it's Gazlan, the same thing. Answers Gemara, Treg Avni Gazlan, and Chinami. There is a Chiddush. They're not the same kind of Gazlan. There are two types of Gazlan mentioned in the Mishnah. One Gazlan comes to you completely with open face. He's not scared of anybody. And this guy, of course, you're Meyash, according to Reb Shimon, who everyone's scared of him. He's a town sheriff. He can't complain to the police. He's the police. Mashe'en can, when it comes to, or he's even Beis Din, he can, I don't know, threaten Beis Din to have a bomb under the car of the Dayonim. And the other guy is not as bad, but he's also pretty bad. He's a guy with a covered face who lives in the mountains and he comes and he raids people back and forth. This guy also, I'm Meyash from finding anything from him, and all I can do is daven to Hashem and Meyash. That's how Reb Shimon read the Mishnah, which means that we did not yet machriach, as we say, we did not fully prove the point that this is Rebbe. We're trying to find out what did Rebbe say. From our Mishnah, cannot really know what Rebbe said, because our Mishnah is possibly not Rebbe at all. It is possibly Reb Shimon's Mishnah. Get it? Therefore, Rebbe, we're still, my friends, in a question. When Rebbe said both are the same, what does it mean? Both Ganav and Gazlan. Both are Yush, both are not Yush. That still remains a question because we veered elegantly the Mishnah to Reb Shimon's side. So we don't know what Rebbe says. Yeah? Toshma, question time. You have a Gemara, by the way? Yeah. Toshma, let's see the next attempt to prove what does Rebbe say. Both are Yush or none of them is Yush. Toshma, Aganav, the same brisa we brought in Amud Aleph again here. Aganav, the Agazl, the Anas. Oh, that's the one that triggered your question. Anas is a person who's a Chamsan. He's a person who comes with a gun and with a wad of cash. Yeah, he pays you, but he forces you to sell. And we here do view him as a Gazlon because I never really said yes, I want. I never said yes, I do want. It was all done very quickly and was surprised and was absolutely forced into it. And that's not called a sale. It was not a proper sale. Hekdesh and Hekdesh, they became tzaddikim. What did they want to do with the money that they stole or the fruit that they stole? They would give it to Beis HaMikdash. Very nice. And it's Hekdesh. Yes, it works. Wow. We assume that the person was Miyash, the victim. Once it's Yush, well, it's in their hands. It's not called mitzvah bo ba'avero, because it was Yush first and possibly Shinu Rashus, according to some Shinu something. And then there was Hekdesh. Something that was stolen is Hekdesh. And the main Chiddush here is that they're called owners. Why they're called owners? Because it was Yush. On all three. All three are lumped together. Ganav, Gazlan, and the newly found friend, Anas. But all of them, I assumed that there was Yush from the side of the owner, and now they are the legal owners. Of course, with Shinu, without Shinu, that's a Machloikis. The Trumos and Truma, and the Truma is called the Truma. They stole a whole big cluster of grapes, and from those grapes they give Truma. The Truma is called Truma. Because if you're not the owner, regardless of your Ganav, not Ganav, you can't give Truma. I cannot give Truma on the lemon tree of Yitzchok. It's not mine. Then Meiser is on Meiser. And the Meiser is Meiser, money. Who follows that Brisa? Who is the author of that Brisa that compared Ganav to Gazlan and said what? And said that both of them there is Yush, like our Mishnah. Rabbanon, Kasha Gazlan. If it's Rabbanon, then Gazlan is an issue. Why is Gazlan an issue? Because you said by Gazlan, there is no Yush. I'll take him to Beis Din, and no is. Rab Shimon, Kasha Ganav. If it's Rab Shimon, then Ganav is difficult because he says by Ganav, don't give up hope. So obviously, neither Rabban or Rab Shimon can actually be the authors of the Brisa. Please turn off your phones. So now, Bishlam Ganav Ki Gazlan, the Rebbe, the Rab Shimon Koma, you have to add in the word Rebbe. Rebbe is the third opinion which can come to the rescue. Same attempt as before. If you want to tell me that Rebbe said both Ganav and Gazlan are like Rab Shimon, and there is Yush in both cases, very good. Then both Ganav and Gazlan, Kani, they acquired it through the Yush of the owner. But if you say that according to Rebbe, both Ganav and Gazlan are like Rabbanon's Gazlan, meaning there is no Yush, Homani, then who's the author of the Brisa? The Brisa is authorless, not Rebbe, not Reb Shimon, not Rabbanon, and for sure not Rebbe. Rebbe said that none of them is Yush, and the Brisa says that both of them are Yush. Same answer as before, exactly the same answer as before. Nice idea, but not proven. You did not prove your point 100%. It's beautiful when learn Gemara. You see people who learn Gemara as opposed to people who don't. Those of us who learn Gemara know how that every proof has to be foolproof, without any holes in the middle. Answers the Gemara, Belistim is Zuyan v'Rab Shimon. He very nice. Same answer as before. Our Braisa could follow Rab Shimon. You know who is the Ganav and the Gazlan? The Ganav we spoke about is not a regular Ganav who sneaks in the middle of the night and he's scared for his life. No, who it is? You know who it is? It is Eglistim Zuyan. He's called a Ganav because he's hidden. He has a gun in his hand, and you don't want to mess up with him. Therefore, this guy also, according to Rab Shimon, there is Yush, and therefore he is koine, and he can take meiser, he can take truma, he can be magdish to Beis Hamikdash. Now, Ihochi frag the Gemara, the same question already for the fourth time. Ihochi Ainu Gazlan. If so, why did he mention Ganav and Gazlan? It's exactly the same. And says Gemara, no, Trei Gavni Gazlan. There are two that are not exactly the same. There are two variations in the theme. The Trei Gavni Gazlan. There are two types of Gazlanim. One of them is completely open. One of them is halfway there. But now we're going to come to the answer. Don't give up hope. No yush. En yush ba'olam klal. Rabbeinu amar. Now we come to the real answer. Omer Rabashi el Rabba. Toshma. Here I'll prove to you from the following story. I'll prove the point that Rebbe thinks. Drum roll. Now we're going to see what Rebbe really thinks. Does he think both Ganav and Gazlan are yes assumed to have yush on the side of the owner, or neither assumed to have yush on the side of the owner, of the victim? Bam bam. Toshma, come and listen. And we actually saw that a few days ago. The Matni Rebbe Rab Shimon Brei. Rebbe taught his son Rab Shimon. We're trying to figure out what's Rebbe's opinion. You better listen to what Rebbe taught his own son. The person never lies to his son. What did Rebbe teach his own son, Rab Shimon? Lo dover sheyesh b'achrayus mamish. Remember the Mishnah? If not, I'll remind you. What did the Mishnah say? What did the Mishnah say at the end? These are children. Our Mishnah spoke about children of a Gazlan. The children not of a Ganav could also be, but the Mishnah chose to speak about children of Gazlan. The guy who comes in the middle of the street, they're the children of the town's sheriff, a thug, a Gazlan, head of a mafia, and they're the children. Legacy continues. And what did we say? They don't always have to return all different objects because of different reasons, maybe yush and shinu reshus. But what did we say if it's a karka? If it's a double shesh b'achrayus, if the father stole a piece of land, then they always have to give back, regardless to all the other conditions and situations. They always have to give back the karka. Continues Rebbe and extends and expands the Mishnah. The Mishnah does not only apply, the necessity to give back does not only apply to something which is karka, which is called something responsible because it's shibud, elafilu, even as you all know, let's say it's a cow and he plows with a cow. Remember the case? The father, Olav Shalom, the Gazlan, but we said he did tshuva, remember? He did tshuva, but didn't have time to return. He stole a cow, and that he used to plow with a cow, and the entire town knows that this cow belongs to Victor, the victim, and now it's by the children, and everyone talks about the dead father. Oh, that cow that they're plowing with, that red Cadillac or black Pontiac, whatever they're driving around town is what? Everybody knows it's stolen goods. That's lack of kavod to the father. It's not kavod to the father. Everyone will talk about the father's theft, and you're driving around in a car. You may not have to give back me'ikra din, but out of respect to the father, you do. Same thing with the donkey, that he walks around with the donkey. They have to give it back to the original owner because of, out of kibud of the aim. No, don't laugh. He did tshuva, didn't have time to return it. We said he did tshuva, he didn't have to, otherwise you don't have to give it back because he does not deserve kavod if it was a Gazlan who died as a Gazlan. Okay? Says the Medaik the Gemara, that is only, let's be Medaik, out of respect to the father, they have to give it back. Alav kavod avien, loy. You see that if not for that, no. In other words, there is an object in his hands, and they do not have to return it if not for the kavod of the father. Shma mino, bam, 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 bam. We come to the final conclusion. Rebbe Gazlan de Rab Shimon Kamar Shma mino. Very good. We see that Gazlan, there is yush. Obviously, there's yush. Because if there's no yush, how come it belongs to them? It's all very nice to say shinel shus because they're the heir. So what? You always have to start with a starting point, which according to some Amorim is the only point, yush. Without yush, there's no kinyan. In other words, let's say that's you tell me, ma alohe. Let's say it's a plastic chair at the end of the mirpeset. Nobody looks at it. Nobody cares about it. Nobody sees it. Even not even if they come to the house of the children. Do they have to return it? No. Only something that everybody sees in the street, or a kitchen table with a dining room table. People come to your house and they see. We said that too. But something, or excuse me, he stole a lot of socks. Nobody sees my socks. I wear long pants. Nobody sees my socks. So maybe socks is something you don't have to give back. Why don't you have to give back? Why? Because it was Yush. There was Yush. And the guy say, Gazlan, opa. So see, Rebbe holds that Gazlan, there is Yush in Gazlan, and therefore Gazlan and Ganav are equalized. Gazlan is Yush. Even I know that A equals B, B equals C, then A equals C, because it's in letters, not in numbers. Yeah. So now we say, because Rebbe says that Ganav and Gazlan are equalized, yeah, X equals Y, right? We don't know how to equalize them, how to compare them. And Rebbe also said that by Gazlan, Rebbe insinuated, he didn't say by Gazlan there is Yush. Voila, both X and Y, there is Yush, both Ganav and Gazlan. So Rebbe can be the author of all these Mishnayos and all these brises. Allah L'maisa did not check this one in Shulchan Aruch. But Baruch, it's a nice question. It's always nice to know it's Allah L'maisa. May it never happen. But I don't know what's halacha. But we did say regarding Jews and non-Jews, by Jews, you're meyash more. Why? Because a Jewish person you'll take to Jewish Beis Din. A Jewish Beis Din is much more merciful and in a way more bureaucratic than the Goyisha Beis Din. The Goyisha Beis Din, yeah, they hit and they get circumstantial evidence, and therefore there I'm meyash not so quickly by the Goyim. I'll take a Goy to court is easier to take than taking a Jew to court, but that's not my issue right now. Halacha, if we pass on like Rebbe or not, I don't know. And Blina, they're looking to it. I was very busy yesterday. Yes, looking Shulchan Aruch, but that's actually regarding the next sugya of ownership over bees, the bees and the yeah. Let's go. Amar b'Yochanan Goyko ne'menes ish. Sorry, the chil shel dvorim, the chil shel dvorim. The bees, and the bees are compared to birds, and there's a reason for it, yeah, because both of them happen to be flying around, and they are not completely yours ever. What did we say in the Mishnah? The Mishnah said as follows. The Mishnah said that if I was miyash from an object, nothing to do with theft, something got lost. My birds flew away, my thing flew away, or something fell into a river, into a gushing river, big rivers, Mississippi or something, yeah, and it starts flowing away, yeah, then what? Floating, drifting away. I meyash, right? We assume I meyash. If a person found it, it's a din of Shavas Aveda, he can keep it to himself. And then the Mishnah added in, you know what? And also the chain, I have also a whole new stanza here, a whole new statement about nechil shel dvarim, a swarm of bees. The same applies to a swarm of bees. Says the Gemara, what's this big, why are you putting the bees on a stage over here, the bees, yeah? Well, it's a public school in America. Yeah, what's the big story that you make a special statement to tell me that bees also, if they flew away from your reshus and your miyash, then they belong to the new guy that they flew into his field. Yeah, you got the story. The bees flew from Reuven's field into Shimon's field. Reuven miyash, now Shimon is the owner. What's the chiddush? We said it already. Answers Gemara Hachiko Amar. That's the answer. Afil nechil shel dvorim dekinen derabonon hu dvarim, the dvorim, the bees are never really yours. Wow. Why? The kinin is only derabonon. That's a lot of work to realize, to understand why. After what I gleaned from different places, from the Talmud all the way to contemporary commentaries, basically the story is as follows. First of all, bees tend to fly. I don't know if you noticed. And therefore, even if they're yours, because of kinyan chotzer, they're in my house. What's in my house as is hefker is mine. Yeah. Mrs. B, the queen bee, and all her friends that came to my house, to my garden, it's mine. Kinyan chotzer. Well, no, because tonight they may fly to a different place. They may decide they're not friendly enough. They'll start a new colony somewhere else, right? And therefore, the ownership is never really strong, because chotzer she'ena mishtameres. A chotzer, if you have an animal that flies by night, let's say I have a deer. That's a case in Bava Metzia, coming soon, Bava Metzia. Let's say I have a very fast deer that ran through your chotzer, and the 3 seconds was in your chotzer, yeah, slow motion camera, then you're kavona to be koinen. It's not yours, honey. I'm sorry. Why? Because it's running through, yeah? it's not mishtamer, it's not really being kept there unless you have walls and you trapped it. Yes, something that's such a fly by night thing, it's not called kinyan chotzer. Maybe I'll pick it up. Rek Toisves, maybe can do kinyan agba. That's a good question of Toisves. But the Gemara says regarding birds, and that's Machlokes Toisves and Bes Yosef, after a lot of work I figured it out, to pick up a bird or pick up bees, is that so easy? What's going to happen when you pick up a bird? And you're not really grasping it. You like pick it up normal. What? It's going to fly. So the bird is flying without your help. If I do kinyan agba on my phone, why is the phone being up? Last time I checked, there's gravity in the world. But if you pick up a bird, a real bird, and not a chicken, I mean like a dove, it's going to fly anyways, and it doesn't really need you to pick it up. So both kinyan agba and kinyan chotzer are very iffy when it comes to flying objects, yeah, or UFOs. Maybe you can't buy a UFO. The mice, the birds, and the bees, the kinyan is only the rabbanon. Any kinyan you have over them is only the rabbanon the kinyan. It's not real kinyan, and therefore I would have thought because it's a weaker kinyan. Those things came under rabbanon be'almahu dekonilei, because the whole ownership to begin with may cost $1,000. The bees, the whole ownership is a weaker second grade ownership of the rabbanon. I would say that there's yush right away, even without the person saying Bailal Cheson Kiss. You know what I'm saying? I would have said maybe every person who doesn't see his bee in the area, because the kinyan is weaker, then the yush is stronger. To get rid of that kinyan is much easier because the kinyan is weak to begin with. So maybe I don't need him to say Bailal Cheson Kiss. Maybe any bee that I see flying around, I assume there's yush because all kinyan to begin with was very shvach. Kamash Malano, in Eloi. Comes the Mishnah and tells me, you can only be the bailim over the bees that just flew into your garden, into your field, only if you actually heard the person screaming from 2 fields away. He declared that he's miyash and he believes he won't find him again. Only then you can be the owner, even though it's a kinyan d'Rabbanan. Rabbanan is not a joke, and therefore there too you need proper yush before you actually become the proprietor of those bees. We keep quoting more halachas in the Mishnah. A woman and a child, a minor, a mini minor, an isha and a katan, they can, what can they do? They can testify and they can say, we saw the swarm of bees coming from Reuven's field. In other words, the plot thickens. Shimon is now the owner of the thing, but Reuven comes screaming. Reuven is running into Shimon's field, chasing his own devorim, and Shimon says, they came from my field and never was mayash. Excuse me, Reuven says that. Says Shimon, who said they came from you? We have 10, how they're called, apiaries. We have 10 beehives in the area. Who said they came from you? Who said? A woman and a child, they're believed to say that came from Reuven's field. Frag the Gemara, Isha v'koton b'nei edus ninu. A woman and a cotton, since when are they b'nei edus? A woman and a cotton cannot testify in Beis Din. It says ish anoshim, yeah, and not women and not children. Since when are they believed for edus? Even for money, they're not believed. They're not believed. They're just not kosher for edus. So if so, why are the Naaman over here? You know the story over here is the owner, before the woman and the child spoke, we saw Reuven, out of all the people in the area, Reuven is the only one schwitzing and panting and running after his bees in a way that seems sincere. We still don't know. But it looks like he's the one, the owner. The Isha v'koton mesichin lefi tumam. The oimrim mikan yotzanoch is their first wide line. The woman and the child are not standing in Beis Din and testifying in a formal way. They're mesiach lefi tumoy. They speak in a way, I don't know how to say it in English, in a way that's like by their, what? Mesichin lefi tumam? Mesichin lefi means they speak innocently. They speak, in other words, not in order to make any statement. It's like they chat. In other words, the guy was running, and then he heard Shprin Sabela telling Rachel Hinda, this guy is the owner of the bees. Yeah, or little Yankele is telling little Shloimele when they're playing, marbles, says, Mr. Tzon Reuven, he's the owner of the bees. In other words, even goyim are neman to talk if it's regular I would call it idle talk. They talk to themselves, to their friends. In other words, people are not believed in edus, are not able to make a statement in Beis Din, knowing that what they say has a halachic application or ramification. But if they just chat to the friends and I heard them, that they're believed on. For example, the 60s, remember the 60s? That's when you have one, piece of treif chicken into 60 pieces of non-kosher chicken. In the 60s, they were matriot, I'm joking, yeah? If there's one against 60, you can eat it. Now, I don't know if there's taste or there's no taste. 60 is a later invention of the Gemara. Gemara originally says you don't need 60. Depends if you feel the flavor of the treif one or not. Let's say it's different flavors, not chicken, it's chazir. Let's say it's ham, the ham juice, brine or something that fell into kosher cholent. Can you taste chazir or not? Who do you ask if you can taste chazir? I would not take the risk. Neither of you would take the risk. Who do you ask? You ask the French chef, a mumche, the choshev chef, Jean-Paul Tetetier. You ask him, Monsieur Chef, does he taste like chazir or not? So he is Masiach Lefitumoy. He doesn't know the Jewish religion. He's not from Strasbourg. He has no idea there's a halachic ramification. So he says, he tastes yes, no chazir. He's believed. Why? He's not giving halachic edus. He's asking for his professional opinion. Oh, I'd love to give that, right? It's the same thing, but a woman and a child, they're not believed as edim, but they're believed as human beings. Yeah, they're just talking. Plus, however, that's only true if we also saw the guy running, because the real guy, Reuven, which assumes the real guy, he ran after the bees and we put two and two together. First of all, it makes sense he's the owner because he's running after the bees and nobody else. Secondly, they were talking with the tumam, we put two and two together, then they're believed. Now, that's so far, that's what we think. Women and children are neman in edus, which is like a by the way edus, idle chat edus, lefitumoy, plus providing we also have reglaim lodava, we also have circumstantial evidence. That's good enough. Welcome to North Korea, by the way. It's a nice country. Just prejudice what they say about our country, but there are no questions from now till the Mishnah. And when we get to the Mishnah, we'll go back to there's free speech. Where's the free speech in the world today? Nowhere. Amar Avashi. Yeah, as long as I don't close my YouTube channel for speaking against what? Only in Bismillah. Amar Avashi. I'll be very happy to your questions when we get to the Mishnah. Amar Avashi. Now Avashi comes with a new statement regarding the same issue. Amar Avashi. Ein Mesiach Lefitumoy kosher. The only time that we say that any person who does not give proper edus, how do they translate to English Mesiach Lefitumoy? By the way, I'm curious. I always love article translations. Yeah. Anyway, a person who talks in an idle way is only believed only in one case, says Rav Ashi. Eno leedus isha belvad, to the edus of a woman, lo aleinu chas v'sholom. A woman is a sofek aguna, not funny at all. That can happen in the army. People go to war. People go to some foolish treks in Thailand. And what? And the man is lost. He's missing. May this Shiur be latzolas of all Moshe ben Gittel. Everyone has to dump from all the time. The boy that's missing. He's not married. The boy. Let's say a married man is missing. And what? And now we hear children saying, this man, we went to his levaya. And they mention the men, and it sounds from the children talk. By the way, some Rishonim say only children who are close to bar mitzvah, not 3 years old. It's more like 11, 12 years old when they begin to make sense, maybe. Yeah, then become teenagers, become sensible. Okay, so then what? So then what happens? If you hear the children saying, we went to the levaya of Mr. So-and-so, the missing, then we can be matir the woman and tell her, oh, you can get married. We know your husband died. Eshes Ish is the worst affair in the world. Why you make a Eshes Ish? Because we say the woman herself, first of all, because of Iguna, we don't want to leave women agunos. However, that's not enough. Also, because if the man will really come back alive, if her husband alleged to be dead will be found out alive, and she remarried somewhere, if she married somebody else, she lose a lot. She has a lot to lose. Both husbands she has to get divorced from. No ksuba from anybody, and mamzerim for both children, both husband and children be mamzerim. So she has a lot to lose, so she'll be careful. There's a lot more going on there, but dafka by women's igun, we were makel, although Eshes Ish is very, very severe, and in that case only, says Rav Ashi, and only then we rely on the Mesiach Lefitumoy of women and children. Only in that case. You and I already know that that's l'choira not true. Correct the Gemara. Omer le Ravina Ravashi. Ravina Ravashi. Hey, the two friends. Ravina Ravashi, the two co-authors of the Gemara, talk to each other. Ravina is asking Ravashi, Veloy, are you sure my calling? The only case that such an interesting edus of, by the way, edus lefitumoy is good is only then, only by a woman who is missing her husband. Yeah, that's not the only case. Way less important, but that's the beehive of someone, the bee swarm of bees, and a woman and a child are believed lefitumoy to say it belongs to whoever claims that it belongs to. Shiny Nechil answers the Gemara, no, I spoke in the Oraisa level. Remember what we said? The bees and the birds are only owned by people with the Rabbanon. At the Rabbanon level, of course, you can have all kinds of edus, which is Mesiach Lefitumoy. It's the Rabbanon. That's a lower level. But the Oraisa, the only place the Oraisa, which we say the Oraisa, that funny edus can help, is only in the case of a woman that her husband is missing. But the Oraisa loy, the Gemara text again, of being another case. I'll show you another Doraisa where Mesiach Lefitumo does work, not like Ravashi. Correct? The Gemara V'amar Avida Shmuel. A person is an adult, was talking to his friend, not in shul, because you're not allowed to talk idle talk in shul. Where did he speak? In the street, in the bus, in the taxi, in wherever, in the coffee shop. He was talking to his friend, talking about his childhood. I was talking to his counselor. He's talking to a psychologist, so he'll see. Lefitumoy, not giving edus. What did he tell his friend? The oimer, Zechorani, I remember my childhood memories. Yeah, where are the tissues? Shani Tinoy, I was a baby. I was a small child, not a baby. I was a young child. V'mukevani el kseifa shel Abba, and I remember going a piggyback on my father's shoulders. V'otziuni mi beis hasefer. They took me out of school. Well, that's fun, right? My father took me early out of school, mi beis hasefer, mamish like today. They undressed me, yeah. And they made me go to mikveh in order to eat truma la erev. And at night I ate truma. I remember that I ate truma. What is it describing really? The life of a young Kohen. I remember eating truma. Why did it take him to the mikveh? You don't have to go to mikveh every time you eat truma. Only to wash hands negelvasser. What do you have to do? This child, like every child, likes to play with dirt, yeah, and the children's hands happen to be dirty, and that's why they told him to not just dirty, Tomer, maybe touching dead rats, dead shrotzim. So they put me to the mikveh, and at night I ate truma. Rabbi Chanina has another version to the story that the man kept talking even more, describing his childhood memories. My children, my friends were always a bit distant from me. I was like a little bit, separate from the rest of society. And they called me Yochanan, the one who eats challah. Who's allowed to eat challah nowadays? Nobody. Yeah, the fire. Who eats challah? Koyanim. Everyone in class used to call me, oh, he's Yochanan, the one who eats challahs. Is it 250 shekels? He finished his session by the shrink. And he was only talking in Beis Din. What's he talking? Stam. He's describing his memory. Now, we don't know if this guy's a Kohen or not a Kohen. He says, when I was a child, I remember experiencing kehuna. Maybe later he was less religious, or maybe later, what? There's no truma anymore. Chuben Beis HaMikdash. People didn't need truma anymore. They allow Rebbe le kehuna al piv. Wow. Rebbe heard that, and Rebbe says, you're a Kohen. You're a Kohen. In other words, from now on, I give you the status of a Kohen, not from now on, obviously. I believe your regular idol talk fitumoy to make you a Kohen, although there's nafkamina midoraisa. The Kohen midoraisa is allowed to eat truma. The Kohen midoraisa has all kinds of ramifications. And you see, the man is just chatting to his friend in the bus, and Rebbe heard it, and Rebbe says, you're a Kohen. So you see, even in the Raisa level, we believe people who talk, just by the way, he's one aid, not to aid him, he's talking about himself. It's absolutely illegal aidus. And yet we accept it because it's just a regular talk. Why did you, my colleague Rashi, say the only time Lefituma is by a Naguna? No, you see Lefituma works B'Doraisa, also in other areas, such as Truma. By the way, a Zar, like me and, except for Yaakov, everybody in the room except for Yaakov, if we eat Truma, what do we get? Yisabidei Shamayim. Ooh, not a joke, okay? So if you eat Truma and you're not a Kohen, that's risky business. Hashem will chas shalom Misa b'yirei shamayim. Answers the Gemara, but Truma derabanan. Ha ha ha. As already hinted to you before, we're talking here in the times after the destruction of the temple. The Truma became the Rabbanon, like today. In other words, he believes that the entire Chiyuv to give Truma and anything called Truma is just the Rabbanon. Imela, back to square one. When Rav Ashi said Mesiach Lefitumo only helps in an Eshes Ish Aguna, that was true regarding the Oraisa level. But Truma in the times of Rebbe, post Churban Beis Hamikdash, is already what? Is only the Rabbanon. The Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael has shrunk. It's not the same Kedusha. So even if you give Truma, it's only the Rabbanon, according to Rebbe. It's Mechloikis, by the way. But Shemitah, the rest of the Rabbanon, all these things. Yeah. Mimela, we say that it's only the Rabbanon. That's why Eidus Lefitumo helps. But Rav Ashi stays strong and firm. The only Doraisa, when such a low-level Eidus helps, Lefitumo is only Be'eshes Ish. Another attack, and thank you for your patience. You guys are amazing. Are you sure that there's no Doraisa? Are you sure what you're saying? There's no Doraisa in which we say that Lefitumoy helps. He also of Dimi Omar Rav Chana Kartigna. He quoted Rav Chana Kartigna. The Amri La Samse Rav Kartigna Mishtoi. Rav Kartigna said the story. Maise Bolifne B'Shuban Levi. Very sad story. The Amri Lo Maise Bolifne Rebbe. Either B'Shuban Levi or Rebbe had an issue of what? Of an Eshes Kohen. Oy 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 oy. That was captured by Goyim. She was captured, was kidnapped, captured by Goyim. Listen to the story. Yeah. It's a young child below Mar Bitzva. He's talking stam, not in Beis Din, not in front of the rabbi. He spoke to his friends, he spoke in class, he spoke to his counselor. And what did he say? My mother and I together were captured amongst Goyim. And my mother, he was probably adult enough to realize that the Goyim, if they capture a woman, maybe there's a slight chance that they'll touch her. Science fiction. Maybe they will touch her, not exactly the right way. And being an Eshes Kohen, even if it's a rape, she's also to her husband, right? If she's not an Eshes Kohen and she wants it, maybe eventually she thinks the captivator is a nice guy, so strong in this, Stockholm, called the Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, and then what? Maybe there was something between her and the Shaboim. So it's a question if she can go back to her husband. And you know what happened? I'll tell you what happened, says the baby, the child. Yotzasi of mine. Every time I had to go out to draw water, to bring water, daiti al imi. I had my mother in mind. I would watch my mother. I was all the time mashgiach that my mother was not touched. Very touching, yeah? He's a young child protecting his mother. So even if they told me go away, I kept making sure that my mother is being protected, yeah, as much as he could. Lilkot 8, I don't know, protect her, at least I watched and nothing's happening, yeah. Yatzatzi Lilkot 8, they told me, okay, go out to pick some woods, yeah, daiti al imi. I had my mother in mind, so I can tell you, my good friends in class or stam talking, that my mother remained pure. Well, he's just a child talking. Rebbe told her she can marry a kohen, meaning she's not a zoina. A woman who has relations with a goy has the status of a zoina even before marriage. Yeah, let's say the mother was divorced or something, or divorce is not an example for a kohen. Let's say she was almana. She was an almana, but maybe she had relations with a goy. Yeah, once she has relations with a goy, even as a non-married woman, she cannot marry a kohen. That applies today. Big problems for many people. Whatever. Yeah, women, unfortunately, yeah, they go with goyim, then doing tshuva, and then she cannot marry a kohen. So it's a question. Here, Rebbe says, oh, the child says that she was untouched, that he's believed. No. So you see that Masiach Lefituma helps in the Oraisa, and not only the case of an Eshes Ish. And it says the Gemara, B'Shvuya Hekelu. With the Shvuya, they made a special dispensation, a kula for a Shvuya, for a lady that's captured, that's in captivity. Why? Isn't it very likely that that woman was raped, or maybe she found the guy to be very nice? Answer the Rashi here and the Chronim, they say no, it's a question of chazaka. Listen to this. A woman is b'cheskas kashrus. When she was captivated, either married or not, she had a tichel like this. Very frum, very tsanua. She's muchzak not to do naughty stuff, right? Okay, and she's muchzak to be kosher. Even though the goyim are also muchzak to be parutz, and that's a question, but Lamaisa, her status, when the story started and the question arrived, her status was kosher. And that's how we always work in halacha. The chazaka was good. Elamai, you're making a gezerah that any shvuya, by the way, there's a gezerah, any shvuya, any woman captured is also for a kohen. That's gezerah derabbanan. B'doraisa, we don't know if she had relations with them, and definitely we don't know if it's meratzon, right? And therefore, what? She started off as kosher, cheskas kashrus. But she'enk in the case of an eshes ish, we don't know whether the husband died or didn't die. That's just the opposite. Before the children came and said, "Oh, that missing guy, we have been to his levaya. We just came back from the levaya of Mr. Missing Guy." That's the other way around. Why? Because she started the story being asu. You want to be matir and eshes ish. It's a huge chiddush, much more. And that's what Rav Ashi meant. Rav Ashi said the only time when we are going to such unbelievable length and width to say a chazaka of eshes ish doraisa, a chazaka of eshes ish to go against chazaka with such a weak edus is only to be matir and aguna. That's Rav Ashi's statement. We're not up to the Mishnah, but I'm happy to hear questions and comments. All other cases, both to the case of the child who no, remember it's going to mikvahs d'rabbanon. That's complete d'rabbanon. Remembering going to mikvahs d'rabbanon, that's because churban beis hamikdash tumas d'rabbanon. The bigger chiddush is even the oraisa, such as the case of a shvuya, if she's really been with the goats, the oraisa is shozoin mechalol loy kochu. But her chazaka helps the edus, because she's good chazaka. But for edus to go against chazaka, that's only be'eshes ish, and that's what Rav Ashi meant. That's a chiddush. Thank you very much. One important announcement regarding the siyum. The siyum, there was a mistake regarding the date. The date of the siyum should be in 2 weeks from now, not before, because I don't know if we'll finish the masechta. It's better to be later than earlier when it comes to siyumim. So it should be next Sunday or Monday. That's up to you. I don't mind. Not Tuesday, please. Sunday or Monday, lunchtime. We're thinking of making siyum here in shul in the new room. Exact time, place, you guys decide. I'm a guest. 2 weeks from today, I think is good, or from 2 weeks from tomorrow. Everything else is up to you people. One thing I'm making is my daughter's making the main dish is the salmon. The salmon fish my daughter will be making, enough for everybody, Mitzvah Hashem. And the salmon. What? While during the day it was good for most people. I don't mind the evening, but most people prefer during the day. Some people work at night. Jeff, you're the master of the show. Have a good day, everybody. Also.